Peace and blessings, y'all. Peace, peace, peace. This is Raw Love on the Road.
Yes.
I'm Amani,
I'm Malaika.
and we are just going to take y'all with us on a journey to Limon. We're here currently in Puerto Viejo in Costa Rica, and we're going to be doing a little bit of sightseeing and some shopping up here in Limon. Our daughter just started her first day of kindergarten today, y'all. Can you believe it? Little Indigo Soul. She's growing up. She's in kindergarten at the school here locally. So we had a whole event happen around her needing a whole new wardrobe, which we can get into as we go. But first and foremost, just want to say thank you for showing up and for being here. It's a blessing to be alive. And you can see what the life is like. Let's ride.
All right, let's ride. Yes, so Amani started to get into why we need to get Indigo an entire new wardrobe, which is quite the story. But essentially what happened was we had her clothing all stored in this wardrobe at the place we're staying at here in Puerto Viejo. And the landlord of this property came through and cleared out essentially an entire section of her property. And so let's just start with saying some things are different here in Costa Rica in terms of renting and working with a landlord and just renting in general overall is different than it is in the U.S. And so no contracts. There are pros and cons, and it is an energetic process. I'm glad you mentioned that, Amani, because that's central to how renting works here. But anyway, this person, let's just say, does not have super great energy. Let me just give you a view of the ocean here. It's so beautiful.
Just a little quick song.
Yes, so that is the beautiful ride we have along the coast. Yes, it's gorgeous, and yeah, that's just the everyday commute ride, if you can believe. Like, yeah, that's how it's looking. But anyway, so this person in particular doesn't have the best renter landlord energy, to say the least. So yeah, and so all of our daughter's clothing was in this wardrobe. And as they were clearing the space out, I don't know if it was just overlooked or it was noticed and they just didn't really care that much, and it all got thrown out, taken away. I don't know, I couldn't tell you, but we don't have access to it anymore. And so, yeah, now we're on the way to Limon, where we learned that you can definitely find more affordable clothing pieces. So much is imported here, and basically, like, all the daily items that you might need are being imported to this area, so prices are higher. So if you can go a little bit more inland, you'll be able to find more affordable clothing, household products, housewares. So we're headed to Limon to do some of that, to do some shopping. Yeah. And Amani's driving us. We are using a rental vehicle for a little while until we get access to our car back. Our car is being worked on right now, and the rental car life is pretty nice, I gotta say.
Yeah, we definitely have an older vehicle that in and of itself was a whole journey to get, which I won't get into all the details around that today. But cars here are so different. Like, it's basically expect if you're used to U.S. prices, it's pretty much double the price. Because again, kind of similar to her point earlier, nothing's made. There's no car manufacturers here, so every single vehicle in this country was either driven here or imported here from another country. So you can imagine what that does to prices. And the cool thing is people really care for the things a lot more. Like, we're in like a super old 97 RAV4 because we're just at the bottom right now building up. And we don't mind to have a sense of humility through this process. It's actually very much required because there's just so much new and you have to bump your head a few times. And if we were just out here trying to really be flossy, I feel like we would be drawing attention, not to mention we would be bumping our heads in even more expensive ways. So we're just like starting with getting our essentials covered in a cost-effective way. I'm really grateful with the wardrobe thing for Indigo. I'm grateful that she's going to get a chance to get some new clothes because, you know, it's crazy as parents. These kids grow out of clothes so fast. She's been blessed to have like these big cousins who have gifted her most of her clothes, and they all come super crispy. She's been flossing her whole life in her own way, just naturally, minus the wardrobe thing at all. Just who she is, she shines. But she's one of those people who makes everything that she wears look good. So I'm looking forward to getting her in some new fabrics for really, I mean, of course she's had pieces here and there, but it'll be nice to have her with like some brand new stuff. She's going to be excited, and I'm grateful that we have the ability to do so. So what else you want to talk about, baby? What else is on the docket for today?
Well, I heard about a meditation that you had yesterday. I was hoping to hear a little bit more about that. I know you spent some time out at the water in the middle of the night. So you want to get into that?
Yeah, this person just don't worry about the mic going back and forth. I'm a good safe driver. I know I have one hand here, so like just pretend this is all green screen around us if you're worried about our safety. But I do this, so don't worry about it. My grandma would be shaking right now because she would always say 10 and 2, Amani, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. on the steering wheel, right? She was adamant about that. So anyway, yeah, you know, it's crazy. For the first time in a long time, because we actually lived very, very close to the Pacific Ocean when we were in Watsonville, south of Santa Cruz. Before Indigo was born, we had access to the water in a similar capacity that we do now, but it's been 4+ years, almost 5 years now since then. And so now I had forgotten just how healing it is to be able to regularly be around the water, to hear it, to feel it, its vibration, its like magnitude, the power of those waves crashing down. And so, baby, I got to tell you about this because this was really monumental for me. So I went. We call it. It's a crazy name. It's a cultural difference. They call it Playa Negra. It means black beach, and it's called that because the sand is basically volcanic sand. It's like black, the color black, and it has full of these minerals. Because all of this area in Costa Rica is quite new, geologically speaking. It's just semi-recent, probably a few thousand years of volcanic activity created the land that we are driving on right now, where North America and South America were not connected at some point. And this land bridge basically was built through volcanic activity, so the soil here is crazy nutrient rich. The Playa Negra, where we live a few minutes from, is black sand, and if you see it in the day, it's shining with the sun. It's like sparkles. It's magnetic. So I went out there. I love to go out there. I'll take my Palo Santo to do some smudging. I'll take a candle to light it. I set up this beautiful little kind of it's nice to be able to describe it because I've wanted to film this, but until I get like a glow-in-the-dark camera or something, I'm not gonna be able to. So I'll push the sand around the candle, making like a little mini campfire. Then I'll light my Palo Santo, smudge, and I would do my meditations. And then last night I went for a run. First run, you know, on the ocean in the middle of the night. So I didn't know what was out there. I just had my flashlight, but it was no one. I probably ran 2 miles and no one was out there at all. And I was listening to some music, and I was really just getting into this zone of connectedness, and the music and the waves and the adrenaline of the unknown was all sort of creating this perfect access to this like deep flow state. Like you may have have you ever heard of like a runner's high? Do you know, maybe you could describe that for the people?
Yeah, I think I have experienced a runner's high a few times in my life, and it's essentially like you kind of lift off into this place of really alignment with your own body and your own presence in your body in that moment. You're so deeply in that present moment that the run is no longer, it doesn't feel like this sensation or feeling that's wearing you down, in terms of the run feeling so excessive and so difficult and like such hard work. But it feels good. It feels like you are like you're in this place of adrenaline that's so high, you just feel like you could keep going and going, and like you're floating almost. You're so in that presence with the way that your body is moving, that you don't feel the need to stop that you might typically feel with a run. You just want to keep going. You actually want to keep going. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Perfectly described that. And so that's what I was in. And it felt like the faster I ran, the more energy I got, you know. And it really came to me that my life is unfolding to the soundtrack of my perception. That was one thought that came to me, like, as I perceive things. And so it was like perception is reality is sort of like a statement we all hear often, but to feel it and to feel this like trust of the flow state is what felt so good. And it literally felt as if like I was free falling into trust. Like it was like, and this is sort of like a small microcosm of the macro that is my life right now, where I feel like I've had to just continuously trust. And where in the past I would have these doubts come in, and I would have a lot of second guessing happening. Now I've just learned to just stand in my truth and understand that, you know, I have access. If I quiet my mind and listen, or get into these flow states and stay there, I have access to an intelligence beyond my mind that allows me to create circumstances that just keep working out. Shit just keeps working out, works out. And it's as if like the world again is kind of coming at me. I'm receiving the world with an open arms of trust, and I'm simultaneously co-creating the world around me. So there's this dance that I felt so one with in that run last night, that I just wanted to share that. And that's where I was. Okay, so then from there, this is the crazy part. So I was in like pure expression of my emotions. Like whatever thought came up, I would feel it in my body, and then the feeling wouldn't be stuck. Like even if it was a bad thought, or a so-called bad thought, like a negative thought that typically would pull my energy down. You know how if you think about like thoughts in general, they typically will either elevate your mood or bring your mood down. You know that, right? You felt that?
Yes.
Yeah, so this was like whatever it was, whether it be whatever the thought that came, I was processing it in real time and through the emotion, feeling it, letting it go. And as I was doing that, I felt this compulsion to start vocalizing in tandem with the music. So I would sing along to the music, and it just felt like so clearing, like things were just clearing out. You know what I mean? So every new nanosecond before me felt like I was a clear channel to receive what was around me. The thoughts could just keep coming and going, you know. So it's like this constant, nothing's getting stuck.
Wow.
You know.
To me, what you're describing, it really sounds like this cycle of releasing and receiving, and having openness for that. And I think, you know, that's the particularity about it, is like sometimes we could be going through that kind of, and I won't even call it necessarily meditative, because it could just be an experience in life where you are maybe releasing and receiving, but there's no openness to it. Or like you could be receiving things in terms of maybe something that you've been calling in that you weren't ready to receive to begin with. So maybe you don't use it the way that you're being called to, and that thing is let go, or just a cycle that you're not ready, you don't have the actual openness for. And I think that's kind of speaking to the idea of manifestation and kind of how that operates, because I do believe that our vessels and our minds and our bodies and our physiology have to be in a place of being ready to receive that kind of what you're describing, that releasing and receiving and that cycle happening. At least how I've experienced it myself has been, I have to be ready for that. I have to actually want that and be ready for that, for it to fully process. So I don't know, that might be a little bit around the wheelhouse of what you're talking about. Maybe not directly, but that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yes, you definitely added another layer to it that I hadn't considered, where I was leading to. So first, thank you for that, because you're right. I mean, we have to have, it's like, I heard someone, I think it was Michael Beckwith, talk about this on a podcast where he was just saying how we don't want, like, we can have a vision for something and we can have our goal and we can know we want to work towards something, but we don't want to limit ourselves to needing to know exactly how we're going to get there, right? Because then, and even being somewhat unattached to the exact way we get what we want, you know, like because by the time we create it, we may be a different person. Say we have a desire now, maybe my desire now is different than my desire 10 years from now, you know what I mean? So it's really just like continuously following our heart and knowing, and that trust, I think that's where what you're saying folds into what I was talking about, trusting this intelligence that we have access to, that if we're open, things will always work out exactly as they need to, no matter what. And the more we see evidence of that, because it's great to say it, but the more that, like, this has been my life lately, it's just been constant unfolding of evidence of things, of that trust actually working for me and working for my family, you know. So thank you for sharing that tangent that is very relevant. Where I was gonna go is a little bit, you know, I'm somewhat crazy, like I'm kind of a crazy individual.
No.
I am. I don't mind to say it, because I think the world is pretending not to be. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we actually doing in this planet? Like, what's anyone doing here? But no one can tell us that. So, like, it's a crazy world to begin with, and I'm just not one of the people pretending not to be crazy. You know, maybe that's a better way to put it.
I think there's a different word for that. I think
Say that again.
I think there's another word for that. I think that there's so much stigma around the term crazy, and I felt it come up for me when you said that. Um, and I don't think, for me, that doesn't describe what you're talking about. I think how I perceived what you were talking about is that you are following what is true for you. You're following your truth. You are guided by what you feel intuitively. And to follow your intuition can be seen as, I'll put in quotes, crazy.
Okay.
To feel that your intuition is telling you to do one thing or another and you follow that. That can be perceived as crazy.
Exactamente. And I think what's crazy is to see evidence of how well that works and then to not continue doing it. So, yeah, the words, these are all semantics at this point, but thank you for that. I really received that. And I am. So back to the thing. So I was running. I was feeling so good. I mean, the sky looked like magic. Like it was like no, there were no clouds. There wasn't even a moon. I don't know what stage of the moon we're in right now, but I couldn't see the moon, and that means it was like just the whole sky was lit with stars. And there's very little light pollution out here. As you can give them a quick scan of just how you know, how much vegetation and natural life there is just around. Y'all been seeing through the windows, right? It's the cuts. It's the deep Costa cuts out here, and it's like so healing just being this far removed from the concrete jungle. And so I was running, waves crashing, heart pounding, and flow state activated. And I suddenly got this compulsion through my intuition to vocalize, like I was saying, start emitting sounds that were corresponding to this beautiful feeling I was having inside. These are things that my ancestors tapped into me and said, like, you need to do something about this good feeling you're having right now. You know what I mean? You need to share this. And so out of nowhere, I made the first sounds of what I think is probably going to become, at least I uttered my heart's first words, like that weren't any language. They were just the sounds. And someone like this, he yahi, and it was a powerful guttural sound. It said, hey yahi, like that. And it was like every time I said it, it felt like I released something. And then I started looking in different areas with my eyes, and I was beaming love bombs so I would look somewhere and I'd say, hey yahi. It's hard to describe right now, but I know something was being emitted. Like, we're just constantly unaware of just what our whole being encompasses. We have 7 different energetic bodies that, including our physical, but all of these things are like multiple, I think it's like 20 plus feet around us. And we're just so much more powerful than we know. And so when I would say that sound that was coming from this place of pure love, it sounded maybe aggressive, but it was like, no, this is what's in my heart right now. The sound's coming out, and I'm beaming it to everything I look at, right? And so I just kept doing that while I was running loud. Like, I might have scared someone if they heard me on the beach. Those love bombs with my love language, and I think it's like, maybe I've heard this before. I think it's been called like light languages. I don't know where those sounds came from, but they came from inside me somewhere. And as I started doing it, probably like a few strides into my run after having started to say those sounds, these crabs, these luminescent, these glow in the dark little crabs, pretty big actually, about this size, about yay big, you can see, started popping up in front of me and then running into the water, and I would hit them with hey yahis right at them. And then after, I got a little spooked by them, so my energy went down a little bit because I was like, yo, I don't want to step on one of these little crunchy johns. And then they were like they were literally glowing in the dark. You haven't been out there to the late night beach yet, but there's this effervescent like glow in the dark stuff that's in there. It's almost like you're looking at a reverse of the a reverse of this of the I was gonna say, what do they call that when it's when the northern lights, but just in a small scale. I don't know. It's some kind of chemical reaction of some sort happens in the water with some plankton or something. I don't know what it is, but it causes these little flecks of flakes or something of like glow in the dark material that will just be in the water. And the crabs had that same thing. And at least with my light shining on them, they did. And then one of them, baby, who I really looked right at and said, "Hey, yeah, yeah, hey," that mug started running with me.
Wow.
Literally, he was scurrying in front of me for like probably 30 yards.
Wow.
No joke.
Like with you.
I'm lying, not 30 yards, more like 15.
Huh.
But still, it was a while. And I got, at that point, I just slowed down. I started running further away from the water because I was like, what's he? I don't know what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It spooked me out a little bit. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'll be honest. I didn't want to. I didn't know what was really happening right there.
Yeah.
I didn't. And maybe he was just like disoriented by the light, by this crazy indigenous man like running up, saying some sound. I don't know what he was thinking, but what it felt like was like, no, this is a powerful sound you're making now, and you're just in this flow state, and things like this can bring us to new understandings of the world around us. We just have to freak it sometimes. We have to freak life and say like, well, okay, it's weird, it's crazy. It could be perceived as like, you know, whatever. But I think we have a limitless quality that the only way we can push the evolution of our species forward is by tapping into some of these promptings, these inner promptings that call us to do things that we can't rationally understand why. So I'll keep y'all posted on my usage of that, and maybe there'll be some new words added. But thank you for taking the time to listen to all of this, and I'll catch y'all later.
Thanks for tuning in. Raw love.